I went into this game really hoping to walk away with a positive outlook on this game. But, wow, yeah, I haven't played a game I disliked this much in a long time. Five Nights at Freddy's 3. If you haven't seen my previous videos on Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 2, let me fill you in. FNAF 1 and 2 absolutely took the internet by storm. Everyone was playing the games, making theories, fan art, fan games. FNAF was making itself known to be more than just a big trend of the month. The lore was growing more and more with each installment, and keep in mind we're only on game number 2 at this point. And given how well these games sold, I'm sure Scott Cawthon wasn't opposed to doing it a third time. Thus, FNAF 3. FNAF 3's lead up to release was very much hyped up. A big thing I remember from this era were FNAF teaser images on scottgames.com. FNAF 2 got some of these, but they were very upfront about things. FNAF 3's teaser images were way more secretive, with some elements of teasers being hidden within the site's source code, or requiring you to have to brighten up the image to see hidden details. I remember specifically these two teasers. One was a box of animatronic parts, which when you brightened up the image you'd see a mysterious, almost rotten looking animatronic. And this one with a newer balloon boy, in which when you brighten up the image, you'd see the
number 10.
And, yeah, years later, I don't think we ever got answers of what that
number 10
meant. I also remember rumors and fake leaks going around that FNAF 3 was going to take place in a mall or amusement park, and that you'd get free roaming. Obviously, that wasn't true, but it really shows how by this point, FNAF had gained a huge fandom and cult following, and it was ready for more from this world. So, once again, only 4 months after FNAF 2, FNAF 3 launched on March 2nd, 2015. This game fucking stinks. Okay. I'll have plenty of time in this video to shit on FNAF 3 and what I dislike about it, but let's talk a little bit about the background and theming in this game, and some aspects of the game I actually kind of liked, before I descend into my madness. So unlike FNAF 2, which was a prequel, FNAF 3 is a sequel, up front. The game takes place, quote, 30 years later. What does that mean? 30 years after FNAF 2, FNAF 1, 30 years since the last FNAF location, 30 years after the first FNAF location? Like, huh? This is the most upfront a FNAF game has ever been about location and timing, and yeah, it's still confusing. For the sake of argument, I'm gonna say it's 30 years since the events of FNAF 1. Which, according to fan theories regarding the first game, would mean FNAF 3 takes place in 2023.
Sure, okay. Anyway,
back on topic. This time we are not in a pizzeria. Rather, a cheap horror attraction based on the crimes within the previous Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. You're there to be both the security guard and the functional part of the attraction. The first night does a great job in immersing you within this role. So as per usual, you have the cameras to check rapidly. New to the cameras this time, you have a second section of cameras to check. Whereas FNAF 2 only had 2 vent cams, FNAF 3 has several vent cams for you to check. You can toggle the vent cams with a button. One seemingly small issue I had with the cameras in this game was how they totally overdid it with how much fucking static is there on the camera. I can barely see what the hell is going on in these. This may not sound like a problem at first, but with it being so staticky, it is so easy to miss things in the cameras. It's an actual problem. I mean, the phone guy in this game, called Phone Dude this time, which is funny as fuck, does acknowledge this a little bit, but it's still just downright inexcusable in my eyes. I've heard some defend this from a story perspective and say, oh, it makes things feel more immersive and real, like a real cheap establishment. What? FNAF 2 took place in the fucking 80s, had cameras that were nowhere near as full of static. And you're telling me that around 40 years later after that, they have cameras that look so much worse than the FNAF 2 cams? Like, no matter what angle I look at this issue on, it is still such a dramatically stupid problem. However, it's not just checking the cameras. On the far left side, you have the maintenance panel. Every so often, you'll have certain things that go offline and require rebooting. The cameras, audio lowering, which I'll get to in a second, and the ventilation. If the cams go offline, you can't see until you reboot. Audio goes offline, you can't use your audio lowering. And for ventilation, we have something interesting. Basically, if your ventilation goes offline, you are at risk of seeing hallucinations of animatronics. They can't kill you because, well, they're not real, but from a conceptual horror perspective, these are cool. I can see the horror potential in this. Like, is what's after me even real sort of thing? After a while though, any frights they had were really lost on me. Doesn't really help that the designs for these animatronics are blatantly reused from previous games, but I'll give credit where due that this is a cool concept. So anyways, you'll get through night 1 very easily as there's no real dangers at you. You expect to just jump into the next night, right? Haha, no. You get put into a minigame similar to those from FNAF 2. following up Purple Freddy, likely Shadow Freddy from the last game too. He says, "Follow me," so you of course follow him. You then follow him into this room here. He keeps going into another room that you can't get into for some reason, and then the purple guy pops out of nowhere and literally kills you. Oh boy, night 2 begins and Phone Dude has big news for you. They claim they found a real animatronic from Freddy's back in the day, Springtrap. Springtrap is your main antagonist in animatronic. Your goal is largely the same, keep Springtrap out of your office, but your methods of doing so are different. When you see Springtrap in one of the cams, you have to play an audio prompt of a child laughing to attract Springtrap into a nearby room, away from your office. Yeah, this is where that audio system in the maintenance panel comes in. Your audio prompt can go offline too, so you need to make sure that it's online at all times to keep up your defense. And unlike the Phantom animatronic, Springtrap can actually kill you. So if he gets into your office, it's game over. Now if there's something I love about Springtrap, it's his dope ass design. God, I love this design so much. The withering and tears and glitchiness is a really cool effect. From there, everything is very familiar. Get through 5 nights of this crap, with the nights getting increasingly harder. Now reading and writing this script for a YouTube video, the gameplay loop sounds kind of fun, about the same as usual, but just trust me when I tell you, the gameplay loop for this game is awful. It's painfully tedious and monotonous. Every time I got a jump scare, instead of being like, ah, I usually just let out a long groan. The gameplay loop is usually just seal the vents, and play this audio prompt, and reboot the systems. That's it. And while that sounds simple, in practice, at best, I was fucking bored. And in terms of scares, like, okay, sure, I did just compliment Springtrap's design and say it was cool, but oh my god, this game is not scary at all. I'm not gonna lie and say that I was not startled by the jump scares at any point, but that's just it. At best, I was merely startled. Not even startled like the previous games. Startled like, oh, didn't see that coming. Anyways, the jump scares are lame. The Phantoms have slightly better scares, but the teeth of them is almost immediately removed when you realize they can't kill you. I think the Phantom animatronics are a cool idea conceptually from a horror perspective. But from a gameplay perspective, at best they're boring and at worst they're annoying. I guess the design budget went to Springtrap because, oh my god, the Phantoms are ugly as fuck. Hell, the game as a whole is hard in the eyes. The game way overuses the color green, and it's just really not aesthetically pleasing. FNAF 1 and 2 tended to use darker colors to match the aesthetic of a horror game, but it's not like FNAF 1 coded itself in the color yellow or anything like that. Like, imagine if I made this entire video here look overly green tinted, but hold the phone, you can't get annoyed with it because it's a stylistic choice. I don't care that this is a stylistic choice or it matches well with the fucking environments. This is stupid. You can make something that stylistically works well that isn't so gross and ugly to look at. And oh my god, FNAF at this point just started to be way too obsessed with itself and its lore. Like, the phone calls for FNAF 3 go as follows. Night 1, Phone Dude introduced you to working at Fazbear Fright, woo. Night 2, Phone Dude tells you they found a real animatronic to put in the back. But then, a third of the way through that phone call to the end of the game, instead of getting actual phone calls, you are blatantly getting lore dumps. Phone Dude finds a box of vintage audio training cassettes and plays them for you throughout your nights. Blatantly, these are just lore dumps. In FNAF 1 and 2, the phone calls doubled as organic storytelling and world building, and also as good tutorials in the earlier nights. It was when you were paying attention to the world building that you get tiny bits of lore dumps, and that I felt was a good balance. FNAF 3 is literally just lore dumps the game, and I'm 10,000% sure this game just merely exists for the lore, and that's it. And I mean, I guess let's get to the lore and storytelling with this game, as well as the ending. Spoiler warning, I guess, skip to the timestamp on screen if you don't want it spoiled. I know most of us remember or know what the ending of this game is, but I figured I'll put a timestamp here just in case. Okay, so throughout the game, at the end of each night, you are given a minigame cutscene. You play as an animatronic and get led towards a room, like I just said. From there, this repeats each night with a different animatronic. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, of course. Then the end of night 5 cutscene is really cool, actually. You play as one of the souls of the dead kids, scaring the purple guy around the room, when he eventually rushes into a spring-lock animatronic suit for protection. However, it is within that suit that the spring locks fail due to the moisture in the room, and it kills the purple guy. From there, creating Springtrap. So this whole time, Springtrap was actually the purple guy trapped in a spring-lock suit, in a weird undead form. Okay, so that's done, and from there, bad ending. What the fuck? There's two endings to this game. Good and bad. This was the bad ending. The good ending requires you to go through the whole game again doing very specific tasks. The minigames from in between nights sorta guide you, but chances are you're gonna look up a guide. From there you get access to more secret minigames, in which you have to do a secret task, like for example clip through a wall, to complete. Your task being to give cake to the dead kids' souls. Finishing these tasks gets you this minigame where you can finally put the souls of the dead kids to rest. I love the music that plays in this moment. It's really tragic and sad, yet soothing and nostalgic at the same time. I really love it. From here, the rest of the game plays out the same way. Only difference being you get a different screen at the end of the game, this time with the lights inside the animatronic heads off, insinuating that you put the souls of the dead kids to rest. A nice little happy ending. Okay, so that's the end of the main campaign, but following night 5, we of course get a bonus night. Night 6, Nightmare Mode. I'm gonna be real with you guys, I didn't even try with this one. At this point, I was fucking desperate to be done with FNAF 3. I'm already well behind schedule and trying to get these videos done on time. And I have a lot of other things to do in my life. I didn't even try to do Nightmare Mode, I am sorry. Regardless, after being Nightmare Mode, you get a newspaper clipping showing that the new Fazbear Fright's place burned to the ground in a fire, and brightening up the image, you can see Springtrap in the remain. I kinda like that ending, to be honest. Following that, you can unlock some extras, and within the cheat menu, you get something kinda cool. Aggressive mode, basically making all the animatronics much harder. So turning on this mode and doing Nightmare Mode does work as a makeshift custom night mission. Because also, there's no custom night here, which blows. I understand why, but I'm a little sad to not see it here at all. But other than that, there's not much else to say about FNAF 3. I fucking hate this game, 100%. However, replaying this game, while I was always dying to put down the game after a recording session, playing this game again gave me some new appreciation for the game. I will likely never play this game ever again, but I see some merit to this game. This game gave us Springtrap, one of the most famous animatronics in the game, secret minigames, alternate endings, and solid post-game content. This game may not be my thing, but I can definitely see why to many this is their thing, and to many it is their favorite of the series. For me though, I'm never gonna play this game ever again, and I'm desperately hoping for an improvement to the series in FNAF 4. Unfortunately, the next game is the most divisive one of the series yet, but we'll cover that next time. Oh dear god. These games are gonna be the fucking death of me, holy shit. Well, thanks so much for watching guys, have a lovely day.